am on a whole nother level. Girl, he only fucked you over cause you let him. Girl, I guess he didn't know any better. Girl, that man didn't show any ever. Do all I can just to show you you're special. Certain it's your love that holds me together. You say he been killing the...
Yo, comment allez-vous? Bonjour. Alors, on se retrouve pour l'épisode numéro 5 de Vampyr. Petit rappel ce qui s'est passé dans l'épisode précédent. Du coup, nous on est parti en bas. D'ailleurs, ça me surprend qu'il y ait du monde. Ils sont combien? Il est tout seul. On va se le faire. On est parti donc dans la morgue, dans cet endroit-là, là, où on a affronté d'ailleurs un boss qui a failli me tuer d'ailleurs. Et pour trouver des sortes d'antidotes, une fois qu'on les a chopés, maintenant, l'objectif c'est de retourner. Moi, je vais essayer de me le bouffer. Ah ouais, ouais. Hop, il me faut du sang là. Allez, mords-moi ça. Merde, il y a un autre. Merde, je le tape avant qu'il me... Alors, toi. Il y en a un autre là. Ah, mais ils ont tous repop. Bon après ça me refait de l'XP, hein, vas-y, hein, tant pis. Hein. Je vais essayer d'aller en mode ninja chez... Bon, lui il a rien pu faire. Bonsoir. Bah, j'ai esquivé, oh non. Ah ouais. Ouais, tu crois que j'allais me faire avoir. Ok, j'ai rien dit. Putain. Je vais te bouffer, mon gars. Bon, ça m'a refait de l'XP en plus, hein. On va pas se plaindre. Bonsoir. Bon, on peut sortir de cette morgue tranquillement, s'il vous plaît, merci. Il m'avait bien fait chier, je vais me les faire. Ah ouais, ouais. Une fois que j'en aurais tué un, je serais tranquille avec l'autre. Ah ouais, ouais. Donc là je t'ai pile, toi. Moi aussi je peux te mordre, hein. Allez, ça dégage. Tu me mords pas comme ça, il faut celui-là. Bon, on va essayer de redonner le truc. On a aussi découvert un cadavre. Et apparemment, un médecin qui aurait mal géré la dose d'anesthésie. Qui aurait donc créé une... je sais plus comment on appelle ça. Enfin bref, du coup, il l'a mal géré. Donc à voir, on va essayer de discuter avec lui. Et puis apparemment, il a fait une erreur. On va trouver les indices. Et on va voir s'il mérite d'être mordu ou pas. Je peux améliorer mon arme disponible dans chaque refuge. C'est vrai que... L'endurance par contre est vraiment ultra importante en fait. Sur ce jeu, c'est vraiment entre tes esquives et tes attaques. Objectif, tu peux retourner là-bas. Bah en fait c'était là. Parce que ça c'était la morgue. Ok, et le front là. What? Done. C'est lui, je crois. Bonjour.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed, yes, I've been informed about your arrival.
Ah non, c'est pas
I'm
lui.
Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swans's enthusiasm
Je peux
for
savoir
hiring
pourquoi?
you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
Oula, toi tu vas finir mordu, mon gars. Là, t'as un
If
problème
you
avec
have
moi?
a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
Oh là là. Voilà. Qu'est-ce que je pourrais dire?
Aren't you too old for such jealousy? It really won't do you any good, you know.
Don't be ridiculous, Dr. Reed. A simple glance is enough for me to know you have nothing for me to envy.
Toi, je vais... Ouais, je peux le charmer, lui, parce que...
Do you need my assistance?
Not at all. I'm sure that you are used to gaining people's trust with your impressive skills. Well, it will not be the case with me.
I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
Toi,
I
je t'aime pas,
served
toi.
in the war just like you.
Je vais être le prochain sur ma
But
liste que je vais
unlike
bouffer.
you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
This is ridiculous. My blood transfusion technique saved many lives, and you know it.
You see? That is exactly what I hate about people like you. You avoid this kind of accusation instead of facing reality.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to
Il plaît
see
pas,
this
lui, hein.
industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd. Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansea, but over time, his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking
Ouais, exprime-toi mieux.
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be
Moi,
healed.
je peux
I
changer la
don't
vue, je sais pas.
intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
Ah, nouvel indice. Mission personnelle. Dans votre vie alors. Non. 4.
Do you need my assistance?
Attends.
It seems we can.
Non, c'est...
I don't. And
I said...
be careful. This is.
non, c'était pas ici, c'était peut-être là. Avec
If
moi.
Don't be...
Non, ok. Ouais, au
Thank you
revoir.
for your time.
Bon, toi, c'est pas toi. C'est pas toi. C'est un patient.
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare
Il a l'air
to
d'être
believe
plutôt
you'd
grand,
have such good
Dr.
fortune.
Reed, là.
Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland.
Enchanté.
I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
Ah, ça change du mec de tout à l'heure, hein, putain. Oh. On va commencer doucement.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a
Parle-moi de
great
toi.
admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I
Merci.
run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
Merci, merci.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
Un lèche-cul.
It's
C'est avec
always
plaisir.
a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
Oui.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
Ok. On va regarder l'indice
What
pour
can you
après.
tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. With
Swansea.
your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these.
Ah ben ça change de l'autre, hein, voilà, c'est
I'm
un mec
convinced
cool.
that this epidemic is
Qui
a
fait des
test.
travaux.
A test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer,
Hey,
during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
T'as besoin
Do
de
you
mon
need
aide?
help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe.
Peut-être j'attends un lot de
I'm
produits que
waiting
je
for a
commandais
batch of products I ordered
pour
for
mes
my
recherches
personal
personnelles, mais il semblerait
research.
que mon
Yet
fournisseur
my
se
supplier seems to
Ah,
have
tiens.
vanished. Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time.
Et l'indice.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Merci, merci. 2500 expérience. Faudrait 4.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
Bonsoir. Ah. J'ai activé quelque chose.
Good evening, nurse. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, the new surgeon here at the Pembroke.
Dr. Swansea has already told us about you, sir. I'm Nurse Gwyneth Brannigan. Welcome to the Pembroke Hospital.
Did he
Ah,
really?
donc elle fait partie de...
It's a good thing I wasn't hoping to keep a low profile.
All members of staff
fait
have
partie de
already
ceux que je dois
read about
trouver, là.
your new blood transfusion technique. Dr. Swansea made sure of that.
I see. Well, I'm a little surprised, but I suppose I'll just have to deal with this unexpected notoriety.
You must know, blood transfusions are Dr. Swansea's primary subject of research. He is convinced it is the future.
I'm not familiar with all the staff yet. Perhaps you could help me.
Brilliant professionals, most of them. Dr. Swansea has a gift for recruiting talent.
Most of them. Is there a problem I should know about, nurse?
It would be inappropriate for me to speak ill of a colleague.
Nurse
Voilà,
Brannigan,
sécurité,
if
t'inquiète
you
pas.
do know something, please tell me. Anything you say will be held in confidence.
No. I may disagree with some conduct, but in the end, everybody is doing their best.
Is there anyone that stands out?
Well, I have never met someone as dedicated as Dr. Tippett. He should be a standard
Ah,
for
c'est
us
lui qui a fait
all.
l'erreur.
If only he were younger.
Why should his age be a problem?
I guess it's fair to say he's always pushing himself to the limits. He just doesn't know when to stop and get some rest.
Intéressant.
How are things here?
Not good, to say the least. We're struggling against an invisible enemy, more lethal than any bullet from a gun. It's hard, Doctor.
Ouais, c'est sûr.
Do you think this hospital can survive the epidemic?
We are all volunteers here, and we're trying to hold fast, but how do we beat an invisible killer? Some nurses have already resigned.
An invisible enemy?
Invisible.
Quite a poetic term for a disease, especially from a nurse.
Sorry, Doctor. These last few weeks have been exhausting. We could all do with a good night's sleep.
Très bien. Ah, l'erreur médicale,
Tell
la
me
fameuse.
what Dr. Tippett did. I know his mistake caused a patient's death.
If I had not covered up his error, Dr. Tippett would have been fired from this hospital. I could not let that happen.
You can't allow your emotions to dictate your conduct concerning patients, Nurse Brannigan.
Look around you, Dr. Reed. Do you really think we can afford to lose a brilliant practitioner like Dr. Tippett in our situation?
Je sais pas. Je sais pas, mais moi il faut que je trouve le docteur TP là. C'est qui? C'est lui. Décision. Moi je pense que la décision n'était pas tant
To
récente.
clear Dr. Tippett's name must be the decision of Dr. Swansea. You can't take matters into your own hands.
I respect Dr. Swansea's authority and management, but he's no idea what happens here on a daily basis. I did what I had to do.
Ouais.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
C'est lui, t'es. Ah bah bonsoir. Les chargements sont un peu longs à mon goût.
Good evening, sir.
So it is true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before, at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippett, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about coronary bypasses. He had nothing but praise for you.
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent surgeon and blood transfusion specialist.
À propos de ta petite erreur médicale.
Corin, I want you to tell me about Mr. Connor. How did he die? What happened?
He was my patient. He died because of my mistake. That's the blunt truth.
C'est bien, il est honnête.
What was the nature of the mistake?
It was a twofold error.
T'es double.
My diagnosis was wrong, and the administered dosage was too strong.
Voilà.
Who was
C'était
this
qui?
patient?
I don't know. Some sick man from the docks, maybe a fisherman. I had no time to talk with him. No one claimed a body.
Why not
Tu penses
stop
que prendre ta
practicing?
retraite, non?
Are you mad? I killed that man, I admit it, and it won't happen again. I have saved so many lives since then.
Ouais. J'ai décidé de ne pas révéler votre erreur. Oh. Attends.
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
No, we must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more, unto the breach.
Vous n'avez rien à prouver, vos comportements étaient responsables. Ouais, on va dire que ça fait du
Nurse
souci.
Brannigan is worried about you, Doctor.
She should not have told you that. I will have a word with her.
You don't
Yeah.
have to blame her for her honesty.
I'm not that kind of man, my dear Jonathan. Actually, Nurse Brannigan's opinion is the only one I may listen to.
Ah, j'ai peut-être fait une petite connerie.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please, speak freely.
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in a better environment.
Le personnel est plus important, la situation est difficile. Ouais, je pense que la
It's
situation
not
doit être
exactly
difficile
the
un peu
best
partout. Hein.
situation in London either. I can't have expected this hospital to be prepared for what was to come.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
What can you tell me about the staff in the hospital?
Ouais, parle-moi du personnel un peu, tiens.
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this troubled period, there is no time for slander. I prefer to focus on the positive character traits.
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
C'est-à-dire.
Nurse Brannigan is a pearl. She is the most helpful and dedicated nurse I've ever worked with. A clever and cheerful
Et
woman.
d'ailleurs, t'es en
You
train de dire
really
que
seem
sur
to
la vie,
admire her skills.
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a damn fine practitioner.
C'est sexiste, ça.
Any
Après cette
opinion
époque,
about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep this facility running during this crisis.
Ah, yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get out of his office now and again.
Je décide de pas rêver de votre
I will
erreur.
cover for you, Dr. Tibbets, by keeping what happened to Mr. Connor to myself.
I don't know what to say, actually. I can't exactly force you to become my accomplice.
You didn't force me. This is my decision to make. I believe you're still of use to the hospital, considering the situation.
Ouais, ouais, c'est un médecin en
Then I
plus qui
can
peut nous
make you
aider,
this promise. As soon as the epidemic is eradicated,
nous aider à vaincre
I
cette
will
épidémie.
resign.
C'est bien ça.
Goodbye, Dr. Tibbets.
Alors, nous on doit aller là-haut. Hein. Je sais bien comment il court. Alors, fabriquons ce traitement pour la fatigue. Bronchite, le rhume, la fatigue. Voilà. Il y a quoi ici?
It's locked.
C'est verrouillé.
It's locked, all right.
Je te la... À qui je te la donner? Ah, en bas. Tiens, c'est cadeau.
Finally, you've returned, Doctor. Did you find anything of value?
Yes, nurse.
You've worked your first miracle, Doctor. Now, this patient here needs immediate treatment.
Duty calls. When the storm has passed, I'll show you how to mix the remedy yourself with the same basic ingredients.
Many thanks, Doctor. When you've finished, you ought to report to Dr. Swansea in his office. He's
Swansea.
been looking for you. Seemed pressing.
Les maladies font baisser la qualité du sang des citoyens soignés avec des bons médicaments par la pression intestinale, de santé. Lui, c'est ça?
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No,
Really? Why are you here then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
Mortimer Goswick. Alors, appuyez sur A pour voir l'état de... Ah oui, bah, c'est ce que j'ai fait, ok. Ce qui était sans ainsi que la situation sanitaire du quartier, ça vous fera également gagner des points d'expérience.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I'm me, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
Tiens, je suis un
You are
médicament.
not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
C'est bon?
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
Ok.
I'll let you get...
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Et toi, ma belle?
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
Bah merci, merci, c'est trop d'honneur. Pas d'indice. Pas d'indice, très bien. Bah vas-y,
What
parlez-moi
can
de
you
vous.
tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Ah bon? Et tu
May
fais
I
quoi dans la
ask
vie?
if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
Très bien.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived.
Mais,
But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is
c'est
there
sûr.
something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Ah ouais, comme qui?
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
Ah bon?
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Et t'as
She
fait payer?
charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
Ça, c'est pas bien ça. Et là? Ok.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Ok, intéressant. On a fini l'interrogatoire. Et bien j'ai envie de vous dire, on continuera dans le prochain épisode. Donc sur ce, je vous souhaite à tous une bonne journée ou une très bonne fin de soirée. Et puis je vous dis à la prochaine. Allez. Ah ouais.